नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणी विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवसदि गौर हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे Hare Krishna, dear devotees, thank you so much for joining. We are doing the bedtime Krishna reading today, Krishna book reading, chapter 60, talks between Krishna and Rukmini. Once upon a time, Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the bestower of all knowledge upon all living entities, from Brahma to insignificant ant, was sitting in the bedroom of Rukmini, who was engaged in the service of the Lord, along with her assistant maidservants. Krishna was sitting on the bedstead of Rukmini, and the maidservants were fanning him with chamaras, the yak-tail fly whisks. Lord Krishna's dealings with Rukmini as a perfect husband are a perfect manifestation of the supreme perfection of the personality of Godhead. There are many philosophers who propound a concept of the absolute truth in which God cannot do this or that. They deny the incarnation of God or the supreme absolute truth in the human form. But actually, the fact is different. God cannot be subject to our imperfect sensual activities. He is the all powerful, omnipresent personality of Godhead, and His supreme will. By His supreme will, He can not only create, maintain, and annihilate the whole cosmic manifestation, but can also descend as an ordinary human being to execute the highest mission. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, whenever there are discrepancies in the discharge of the human occupational duties, He descends. He is not forced to appear by any external agency, but He descends by His own internal potency in order to re-establish the standard functions of human activities and simultaneously annihilate the disturbing elements in the progressive march of human civilization. In accordance with this principle of transcendental pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, He descended in His eternal form as Sri Krishna in the dynasty of the Yadus. The place of Rukmini, the palace of Rukmini was. Okay, so I'll take a pause there. So basically, Krishna is with his wife Rukmini. Rukmini and her servants are serving the Lord. And Prabhupada gives a philosophy here that the God is beyond our speculation. We can't say, hey, God can't do this, God can't do that. He can do anything. He's the Abhigya Swarat. He can do whatever he likes. Right? Will will the billionaire of this world ask our permission and ask our approval? Oh, can I go to Hawaii? Can I go to Switzerland? If an ordinary billionaire will not ask our approval or ordinary Tom, Dick's, Harry's approval, Krishna is the biggest Swarat. He doesn't need our approval. He can do anything, and anything he does is transcendental. So right now he is in the palace with Rukmini. Okay, anyone else would like to read? From here in the palace of Rukmini. Who's on iPhone? Can you please share your name? Who's joining through iPhone? Okay. Anyone in a position to read? Would like to read? Okay, if you're, yes, Angela, next here, please.
Krishna. The palace of Rukmini was wonderfully furnished. Hanging from the ceiling were many canopies with laces bedecked with pearl garlands, and the whole palace was illuminated by the effulgence of valuable jewels. There were many flower groves of Malika and Chameli, which are considered the most fragrant flowers in India. There were many clusters of these plants, with blooming flowers, enhancing the beauty of the palace. And because of the exquisite fragrance of the flowers, little groups of humming bees gathered around the trees, and at night the pleasing moonshine glittered through the network of holes in the windows. There were many heavily flowered trees of parijat, and the sorry, and the mild wind stirred the fragrance of the flowers all around. Incense burned within the walls of the palace, and the fragrant smoke leaked out of the window shutters. Within the room were mattresses covered with white bed sheets. The bedding was as soft and white as milk foam. In this situation, Lord Shri Krishna sat very comfortably and enjoyed the service of Rukminiji, who was assisted by her maid servants. Rukmini was very eager to get the opportunity to serve her husband, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. She therefore wanted to serve the Lord personally and took the handle of the charmer from the hand of a maid servant and began to move the fan. The handle of the charmer was made of gold and bedecked with valuable jewels, and it became more beautiful when taken by Rukmini because all of her fingers were beautifully set with jeweled rings. Her legs were decorated with jeweled ankle belts, which rang very softly between the pleats of her sari. Rukmini's raised breasts were smeared with kumkum and saffron. Thus, her beauty was enhanced by the reflection of the reddish color emanating from her covered breasts. Her high hips were decorated with a jeweled lace girdle, and a locket of great effulgence hung on her neck. Above all, because she was engaged in the service of Lord Krishna, although at that time she was old enough to have grown up sons, her beautiful body was beyond compare in the three worlds. When we take account of her beautiful face, it appears that the curling hair on her head, the beautiful earrings on her ears, her smiling mouth, and her necklace of gold all combined to shower rains of nectar. And thus it was definitely proven that Rukmini was none other than the original goddess of fortune, who is always engaged in the service of the lotus feet of Narayan. Thank you.
Thank you so much for reading this section. So what's happening here? Krishna has many queens, and amongst the 8 principal queens was Rukmini, one of the 8 principal queens. And she is serving the Lord. So the assistants were doing the chamara, and then the devotee wants to do everything personally. Like Mother Yashoda wanted to cook for Krishna personally, although there were so many assistants. So here Rukmini has developed desire to do chamar personally, and then it appears more beautiful, right? And then there's beautiful description of her transcendental body, features, face, etc. And one naturally, Prabhupada is mentioning, although she had elder kids, the kids were quite grown up. But when one engages in the service of the Lord, that is real beauty. Okay, let's read further. Oh, anyone would like to read? Sorry if you were here. Anyone would like to read? In a position to read? Okay, if you are, you can unmute or raise your hand.
Yes, Prabhuji, may I?
Yes, please.
Rukmini was very eager to Hare Krishna devotees. Rukmini was very eager to get the opportunity to serve her husband, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. She therefore wanted to serve the Lord personally and took the hand. I think we done this, right?
Yes, Anjali read this. Yes, sorry.
Yes.
From here.
Okay, yeah. No problem, Prabhuji. The pastimes of Krishna and Rukmini in Dwarka are accepted by great authorities as manifestations of those of Narayan and Lakshmi, which are of an exalted opulence. The pastimes of Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan are simple and rural, distinguished from the polished urban characteristics of those of Dwarkas. The characteristics of Rukmini were unusually bright, and Krishna was very much satisfied with her behavior. Krishna had experienced that when Rukmini was offered a parijat flower by Narad Muni, Satyabhama had become envious of her co-wife and had immediately demanded a similar flower from Krishna. In fact, she could not be pacified until she was promised the whole tree, and Krishna actually fulfilled his promise. He brought the tree down to the earth planet from the heavenly kingdom. After this episode, Krishna expected that because Satyabhama had been rewarded with a full tree of Parijat, Rukmini would also demand something. Rukmini did not mention anything of the incident. However, for she was grave and simply satisfied in her service. Krishna wanted to see her a bit irritated, and therefore he schemed to see the beautiful face of Rukmini in an irritated condition. Although Krishna had more than 16,100 wives, he used to behave with each of them with familiar affection. He would create a particular situation between himself and his wife in which the wife would criticize him in the irritation of love, and Krishna would enjoy this in this case because Krishna could not find any fault with Rukmini, for she was very grave and always engaged in his service. He smilingly, in great love, began to speak to her just to provoke her loving, just speak just to provoke her loving anger. Rukmini was Rukmini was the Rukmini was the daughter of Bhishmak, a powerful king. The Krishna did not address her as Rukmini. He addressed her this time as the princess, my dear princess. It is very surprising. Many great personalities in the royal order wanted to marry you. Although not all of them were kings, all possessed the opulence and riches of the kingly order. They were well behaved, learned, famous among kings, beautiful in their bodily features and personal qualification, liberal, very powerful in strength, and advanced in every respect. They were not unfit in any way, and over and above that, your father and your brother had no objection to such a marriage. On the contrary, they gave their word to honor that you would be married with Shishupal. Indeed, the marriage was sanctioned by both your parents. Shishupal was a great king and was so lusty and mad after your beauty that if he had married you, I think he would always have remained with you just like your faithful servants. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. So, what's happening here? Rukmini is serving Okay, I'll take some pop quiz. What's the main difference in Vrindavan versus Dwarka?
Vrindavan is said to be rural, and Dwarka was like much of a royal.
Right, yes. I quickly asked GPT to generate a picture. So Rukmini was very, very submissive and, like easygoing. She was not very demanding or very, very humble, submissive. On the other hand, others like Satyabhama, okay, I want this, I want this. And they were all different flavors as we were discussing. And so you see the palace description and canopies and flowers, and so we can get some idea. The maid servant serving with chamara, etc. So they're all serving, and Krishna, who is the Rasaraj, likes to see sometimes some that irritating his wife for that ras. So now Krishna is this chapter is entitled Talks Between Krishna and Rukmini. So Krishna is trying to cause some intentional irritation, and they both are now married. Krishna is already, we all have heard this, that Rukmini was the one who wrote the first original love letter, that Shishupal was being arranged by the parents, and that's what Krishna is mentioning. Their marriage was destined, but she wrote the letter, Krishna, you come and protect me. And then Krishna came from Dwarka and kidnapped Rukmini. So now Krishna is talking about that episode. Oh, so many great kings were there. They were strong, beautiful. Your parents were fine, and they could have all married you. Shishupal was after you. So that's the conversation going on. Anyone else wants to read? Was not yet read. In comparison to Shishupal with his personal qualities, I am nothing. Who is saying this? Who is speaking this? Krishna to Rukmini. Krishna is saying, I'm nothing. He is the source of everything. And you may personally realize it. Basically, selling, like you got married to the wrong person. And I am surprised that you rejected the marriage with Shishupal and accepted me, who am inferior in comparison to Shishupal. I think myself completely unfit to be your husband because you are so beautiful, sober, grave, and exalted. May I inquire from you the reason that induced you to accept me? Now, of course, I may address you as my beautiful wife, but still I may inform you of my actual position, that I am inferior to all those princes who wanted to marry you. First of all, you may know that I was so much afraid of Jarasan that I could not dare live on the land, and thus I have constructed this house within the water of the sea. The Dwarka or Bhet Dwarka. Bhet Dwarka also means the second an island. For some of you may have been there. It's an island city, or it was an island city, let's put it this way. And after Krishna wrapped up his pastime, the whole city was submerged in the water as per the Lord's plan. It is not my business to disclose the secret to others, but you must know that I am not very heroic. I am a coward and am afraid of my enemies. Still, I am not safe because all the great kings of land are inimical to me. I have personally created this inimical feeling by fighting with them in many ways. Another fault. Now Krishna is telling one fault after the other, right? That I am coward, all the kings are inimical to me, and I am unsafe. Another fault is that I am on the throne of Dwarka and I have no immediate claim. Although I got a kingdom by killing my maternal uncle Kamsa, the kingdom was to go to my grandfather. Who is the grandfather here? Who can answer this? Ugrasena. So actually, I have no possession of a kingdom, right? Because it was supposed to go to him. Who am I, right? Besides that, I have no fixed aim in life. Krishna is saying he is the aim of everyone. But Krishna is saying, I have no fixed aim in life. People cannot understand me very well, right? Who can understand Krishna? That is what is the ultimate goal of my life. Then they know very well that I was a cowherd boy in Vrindavan. People expected that I would follow in the footstep of my foster father Nanda Maharaj and be faithful to Srimati Radharani and all her friends in the village of Vrindavan. But all of a sudden, I left them. Right? Krishna is saying, people can understand me and I don't know what's the goal of my life. I was in Vrindavan and I just left them. I wanted to become a famous prince. Still, I could not have any kingdom, nor could I rule as a prince. People are bewildered about my ultimate goal of life. They do not know whether I am a cowherd boy or a prince, whether I am the son of Nanda Maharaj or the son of Vasudeva. Because I have no fixed aim in life, people may call me a vagabond. Therefore, I am surprised that you could select such a vagabond husband. Are you relishing this Krishna Leela? Krishna is selling all this. Yes, Manjulali, you want to read a little bit more? What he continues to say.
Besides this, I'm not very much polished, even in social etiquette. A person should be satisfied with one wife, but you see that I have married many times, and I have more than 16,000 wives. I cannot please all of them as a polished husband. My behavior with them is not very nice, and I know that you are very conscious of it. I sometimes create a situation with my wives which is not very happy. Because I was trained in a village in my childhood, I'm not well acquainted with the etiquette of urban life. I do not know the way to please a wife with nice words and behavior. And from practical experience, it is found that any woman who follows my way or becomes attracted to me is ultimately left to cry for the rest of her life. In Vrindavan, many gopis were attracted to me, and now I have left them. They are living, they are living, but are simply crying for me in separation. I've heard from Akrura and Uddhava that since I left Vrindavan, all my cowherd boyfriends, the gopis and Radharani, and my foster father Nand Maharaj are simply crying constantly for me. I have left Vrindavan for good and am now engaged with the queens of Dwarka, but am not well behaved with any of you. So you can very easily understand that I have no steadiness of character. I'm not a very reliable husband. The net result of being attracted to me is to acquire a life of bereavement only.
My dear beautiful. Yeah.
My dear beautiful princess, you may also know that I am always penniless. Just after my birth, I was carried penniless to the house of Nand Maharaj, and I was raised just like a cowherd boy. Although my foster father possessed many hundreds of thousands of cows, I was not the proprietor of even one of them. I was simply entrusted with taking care of them and tending them, but I was not the proprietor. Here also I am not the proprietor of anything, but I am always penniless. There is no cause to lament for such a penniless condition. I possessed nothing in the past, so why should I lament that I do not possess anything at present? You may note also that my devotees are not very opulent. They are also very poor in worldly goods. Persons who are very rich, possessing worldly wealth, are not interested in devotion to me or Krishna consciousness. On the contrary, when a person becomes penniless, whether by force or by circumstances, he may become interested in me if he gets the proper opportunity. Persons who are proud of their riches, even if they are offered association with my devotees, do not take advantage of consciousness of me. In other words, the poorer class of men may have some interest in me, but rich men do have no interest. I think, therefore, that your selection of me was not very intelligent. You appear very intelligent, trained by your father and brother, but ultimately you have made a great mistake in selecting your life's companion. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Wow. Isn't that quite esoteric? Krishna is telling, I'm poor, I don't have good character, I'm not very qualified, you are very intelligent, I am very rustic, I am very, you chose the wrong partner, in short. And he's giving a lot of details and a lot of, you know, I have so many enemies, I am penniless. But there's a beautiful point also here. When the person becomes, persons who are rich, possessing worldly wealth, are not interested in devotion to me or Krishna consciousness. Isn't that so true? And that's what Kunti Maharani also says. Janma Ishwara Shruta Shri Bhiredamana Madhapuma. And because worldly wealth is often a disqualification, it puts us into deeper illusion. So, anyone else wants to read this paragraph? But there is no harm. The mistake can still be rectified. Krishna is now saying, okay, you've done a big mistake by choosing me, but let's rectify it. It is better late than never. You are at liberty to select a suitable husband who is actually equal in opulence, family tradition, wealth, beauty, education, and in all respects. Whatever mistakes you may have made may be forgotten. Krishna, okay. You can still find a better husband, right? I won't mind. Now you may chalk out your own lucrative path of life. Usually a person does not establish a marital relationship with a person who is either higher or lower than his position. This is also a good point. Marital relations as per Shastra should be established more or less amongst equal. When if it's too high, it's a problem, too low, it's a problem. And we have seen that also. So there should be some balance, right? In all aspects, right? Education, financial, qualification, qualities, background, culture. There should be some balance. My dear daughter of the king of Vidarbha, I think you did not consider very sagaciously before your marriage. Thus, you made a wrong selection by choosing me as your husband. You mistakenly heard about my having a very exalted character. Because Rukmini, the main thing what she had done was she had heard. Krishna is saying, oh, you mistakenly heard that I'm a hero, I'm this, I'm that. Although factually, I'm factually nothing more than a beggar. Krishna is saying. He's so amazing. Without seeing me in my actual position, simply by hearing about me, you selected me as your husband. Mm. You didn't see, you just heard and you selected me. That was not very rightly done. Therefore, since it is better late than never, okay, I advise you now you select one of the great Kshatriya princes and accept him as your life's companion, and you may reject me. Krishna was proposing divorce to Rukmini, proposing that Rukmini divorce him at a time when Rukmini already had many grown-up children. So by the way, this is like a joking kind of pastime, like a humor, rasa going on with some wit, with some kind of irritation flavor. we cannot imitate all these things. We cannot take all these words of Krishna literally, right? Therefore, this is esoteric. Like those who are devotees of Krishna, they can understand. They cannot say, "Oh, look at that! Krishna is saying, oh, I am a not very noble character, and that's so he's speaking from his own mouth." That's not the meaning, right? Like how he's speaking Bhagavad Gita, that's a law book, so this is also law book. That's not the meaning here. Therefore, Krishna's whole proposition appeared to be something unexpected because, according to Vedic culture, there was no such thing as separation of husband and wife. Very important. According to Vedic culture, there is nothing called divorce. About 50 years back, the first divorce was published in the newspaper that so and so got divorced. It was like a headline. And nowadays, divorce $300, divorce $400. You see in the road, it's like a advertisement. It's so common every day. Hundreds and thousands of couples getting divorced because of the main reason is lack of Krishna consciousness. And then there are other reasons also, but that's the main reason, lack of bhakti culture. Nor was it possible for Rukmini to choose a new husband at her advanced age. Then, when she had married sons, so her sons are also married. To Rukmini, every one of Krishna's proposal appeared crazy, and she was surprised that Krishna could say such things simply as she was. Her anxiety was increasing more and more, and the thought of separation from more and more the thought of just the thought of separation from Krishna, her anxiety was growing. Krishna continued. Um, see, when will Rukmini start to speak? It's a long chapter and we cannot complete this, but I hope it was meaningful. So maybe in another random day, another random time, we will read this. I don't want to delay you all. So because we are only like 30% into the chapter, we can't complete it today. But I hope this will be a good meditation as we go to bed. And Prabhupada encouraged Krishna book reading at bedtime. But sometimes, heavy philosophy, too much churning of the brain and intelligence, and okay, this is here Krishna Katha, absorb Krishna and Rukmini having this wonderful dialogue and kind of joking, wittingly joking and playfully having this transcendental affection. With that note, we'll pause here and continue another day, another time. ग्रंथराज भागवतम पुराण की जय, जगत गुरु श्री प्रभुपाद की जय, समवेत गौर भक्तवृंद की जय. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Very good.